a quick YouTube live this morning. We've got a storm system rolling in that's going to bring some impactful winter weather to our region as we go later on today and into Black Friday. So I'll try and make this quick so I'm not taking up too much of your time as we go throughout the holiday, and so you can get on with your day. But just wanted to give everybody a little bit of a heads up that, again, we could see some impacts, especially when it comes to travel over the next, say, 24 to 32 hours or so before that system starts to pull off and out of the area. So if you can give me about 30 seconds to a minute, I'll get everything working here behind the scenes and we'll get started. But what I will spin this around and show you is what the radar is looking like across the region. And we can see that moisture starting to spread into western Montana. More isolated in nature right now as a warm front has lifted ahead of the main storm system. This has helped to bring those snow levels outside of far northwestern Montana up to, say, 4,000 feet up along US 2. And north of that, we're a little more in that 3,500 foot range. So a rain-snow mix for places like Kalispell is going to continue as we go throughout the day today, but further south, it should stay as primarily rain. So that's working there. Just checking one last thing here, and I think we should be good to go. That's working there, and last one right there. All right, perfect. We are in good shape. So I know we'll get a few more people to work their way in as we go later on into this update. But thanks for taking a little bit of your morning to spend with me. Again, happy Thanksgiving for those of you that are watching. And I'll try and keep this relatively brief, or at least as brief as I can, so we can get back to the holiday, spending time with our friends and family and making those preparations. But like I was mentioning before, there is going to be the potential for travel impacts due to accumulating snowfall, so I want to give everybody at least a little bit more of a heads up as to what they can expect between now, Black Friday, for Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and into Small Business Saturday, and then continuing on through the weekend. So we'll get started with this here in full. Right now, in general, we're just looking at cloudy skies across the region. We're quiet down in southwest Montana, Virginia City, Bozeman there. Missoula, we saw a little bit of moisture roll in earlier this morning. There was the potential for a little bit of freezing rain. That's still there, but it's less likely now that we're starting to see that warm front pass through. Temperatures are going to start warming up a little bit. So for Missoula, we're likely looking at rain showers later on today. Kalispell, you are going to be the one to watch for this afternoon. We are going to see the moisture increasing in your area a little bit later on. And depending on those temperatures, this could be rain, this could be snow, it could be a mix of the two. So there's a lot of question marks up in northwest Montana about how much cold air is going to be down at the surface, and that will kind of play a role. Actually, it'll play a big role in the amount of snowfall that you do see up there and in the valleys. Now, the storm system that is driving this is this low-pressure system. It's pushing moisture out in front of it. That's what's going to bring us the rain. You can kind of see this little V shape right in there. This is the warm front that's already moved through parts of the area, helped to bring that little batch of light snow, freezing rain, and rain so far this morning. But this band right here, that's going to be our next wave of moisture that rolls through later on this afternoon, and that's going to be focused primarily into northwest and west central Montana before the main body of the system rolls through overnight and brings more of that snow and moisture into the area. The reason that this is going to be primarily, or at least it's going to be a rapidly developing situation, is we have the storm system out to the west. You don't see it on this map, but there's actually a cold front draped roughly in here. This is going to be sagging to the south and west, and that's going to bring us some Arctic air, and that collision point, when that Arctic air, that Arctic cold front slides essentially right through the storm system moving in from the west, that's where we're going to see that collision of storm systems. So jumping into the radar, we can see this moisture starting to spread into the area. Here's that warm front moisture moving through western Montana right now. But you see the bigger plume back off into Washington and Oregon, and that's going to be what impacts us later on this afternoon. And we'll look at Future Tracker and kind of time this all out here in just a second. So we have part one being the moisture from that western system. I do want to pull one thing up that I did not have originally. Let me see if I can get this really quick. Just trying to, there we go. Bring this back down. And then we have the temperatures to contend with, and this is the other part of it. So we've got the moisture coming in from the west, but we also have these temperatures to watch for as well. For western Montana, we're in the 30s. Kalispell right now at 30 degrees. But you look just over the divide. Cut Bank right now at 18, Havre at 8, Great Falls at 27, Lewistown at 29. That's where that Arctic cold front is sitting, is roughly in there, and that is going to be slowly working its way first into northwest Montana and then into the rest of the area as we get into the early morning hours of Friday and continuing to move south and through the area as we get into Friday afternoon. So that collision point of the moisture coming in from the west, the Arctic air sagging in from the north, where that collides and is a little bit more, I'll say, cohesive in that collision, that's where we could see some enhanced snowfall totals. That's why I think northwest Montana and then maybe down towards places like Bozeman may have a better chance of seeing some heavier snowfall than say the rest of the area. And we'll look at those snowfall totals here in just a second. So like I said, we're going to have a collision of two air masses, the cold air and then the more moist air that's going to roll through later on today. As for that forecast for Thanksgiving, I'll give you the nice, table display right there. Hope everybody's ready for some good family time, good food time. For the region, we're talking temperatures in the 30s and 40s this afternoon. 36 Kalispell, 44 in Hamilton, 41 for Polson, 40 Missoula, 43 in Butte, and 45 in Bozeman. Southwest Montana, again, just generally looking at cloudy skies today. An isolated shower or two can't be ruled out. Better chances as we get into west central, but especially northwest Montana for the rain and snow later on today. So our storm system here is the main three factors that we're going to be watching as we go throughout the weekend. Travel impacts due to gusty winds, snow, ice due to a flash freeze, that will be a possibility as we get into tonight and tomorrow, and that's the focus for the greatest travel impacts, but also the valley snow is going to be starting to pick up later on this afternoon and evening, and then spreading to more of the area as we get into Friday. Once the system begins to clear into the weekend, we're going to be looking at single-digit and teens lows. High temperatures only into the 20s in a lot of locations for Saturday and Sunday afternoon. So some of, if not the coldest air we've seen so far this season will be moving in, and this will likely be the heaviest impacting system for our valleys that we've seen so far as well. As we've just slowly been getting more of these winter systems to produce snow down in the valleys. So before we get into Future Tracker, just want to give you an update on the winter weather advisories, the winter storm watches, and winter storm warnings that are in place. We have the winter weather advisories here in this purple shade. This includes places like Libby, Trout Creek, Thompson Falls, St. Regis, Missoula, Hamilton, Darby, as well as back over here to near Clinton. That's all in the winter weather advisory to the west, but we also have that stretch from just outside of Butte, so Elk Park back up to Boulder, Clancy, up to Helena, and then as well as the Gallatin Valley, where we have those winter weather advisories. And I will get all the information on those. So starting off with these out to the west, those run from 11 p.m. tonight to 5 p.m. on Friday afternoon. So 11 p.m. to 5, or 11 p.m. tonight to 5 p.m. on Friday. And the ones down here to the south over in towards Bozeman, Boulder, Clancy, Jefferson City, we're going to see those running from midnight tonight through 11 p.m. on Friday. So just a slightly later delay on the arrival of the moisture and also on those winter weather advisories. Now let's go into the winter storm watches, and this is my biggest question mark on the day. We're still waiting on. There's still some question marks on the timing of the cold air, the timing of the moisture getting in, and I think that's why we haven't seen these some of these watches upgraded to winter storm warnings yet, because there's still just questions even coming into the last, say, 12 hours before this really gets started. So we could see some of these winter storm watches upgraded to winter storm warnings later on today. We may see them downgraded, but still impactful, just brought down to winter weather advisories. So that's something to stay tuned. Best way to do that for the rest of the day, download the NBC Montana weather app. Once that new information comes in, you'll be notified, especially if it goes up to a winter storm warning in your area. Places like Kalispell, Polson, West Glacier, those will be the areas that I really would focus on, but also down into Butte, Deer Lodge, Elliston, Avon, those areas, Potomac, Seeley Lake, Clearwater, Ovando. We could see those upgraded later on today. So getting into the winter storm watches and the specifics of those, at least in the timing, those will begin later on today for this afternoon and continuing through Friday afternoon. So really that's the same window that the advisories and the other advisories are in place for, where we could be talking that accumulating snowfall, those travel impacts, and gusty winds anywhere from, say, 20 to 40 miles per hour. So let's time this all out and show you how this may play out. Ooh, I don't need that to actually start rolling yet. So it's done a good job picking up on the introduction of the moisture up here into far northwestern Montana. Maybe just a hair fast, but it's got the right idea. We're going to see this continue to spread, and you see really the US 2 corridor is going to be that dividing line for the next couple of hours, and then that next wave of moisture rolls in, and models are trending towards a colder solution. So Kalispell, we may not even see a rain-snow mix today. We may be all snow through this, but that's the question mark that we're still watching for. Is there enough warm air that noses in that we get that transition over to rain, or are we just going to be snow all day? If it's snow all day, we could see those snowfall totals increasing just a little bit, as compared to 1 to 4 inches. It may be more in that, say, 2 to 5 inch range, and that's just one of those just watch and sees type of situations. Further to the south, again, south of US 2, our valleys were still going to be primarily as rain. So Polson, again, Thompson Falls, Trout Creek, Missoula, Hamilton. This should stay as rain throughout the day today. Same thing even as we get it further east into I-90 over towards Deer Lodge, Drummond. We're talking rain still in this period. You can see some of these valleys here. So that's US 93. That's the getting into the Mission Valley. There's the Seeley Swan Valley, so maybe a rain-snow mix towards Seeley Lake. And then further south from there. So we go later on into the evening, maybe a slight diminishment in coverage right on Interstate 90, but you notice up here towards Kalispell, it's all completely filled in. So Kalispell, the northern side of Flathead Lake, up to Eureka, Libby, Troy, the Yak Valley. This is when we're going to be talking about accumulating snowfall. Some of this could be moderate to heavy at times, especially as you get up into the mountains towards West Glacier, and then to places like Essex, Marias Pass, where we could be talking those heavier accumulations and those greater travel impacts. The reason for this, I'll say, enhancement right here, this is where that cold front's going to be sagging south. You see these wind barbs right here coming out of the north. That front is going to be centered roughly in there, and where this moisture overruns that cold air, that's going to enhance the snowfall totals, the snowfall rates that you could see coming out of that band of moisture. As we continue on Thursday into Friday, this is where the second wave starts to move in. So here's moisture wave number 1 for tonight, and then here comes moisture number 2. And I think this is when that cold front's still going to be sagging south, approaching the Interstate 90 corridor. This is at 7 a.m. I would say anywhere from about 6 to 10 tomorrow. That cold front is going to slide into the I-90 corridor. And once that happens, we are going to likely see the rain transition over to snow, and we may also be dealing with the flash freeze as that front moves south, with temperatures rapidly falling behind it. So any of the moisture that's on the roads could freeze up pretty quick, lead to some travel issues for the morning of Black Friday. We're going to continue to see that moisture moving through the area, diminishing in coverage from north to south. So places that have been that are going to be dealing with the snow tonight and into tomorrow morning, we may start to quiet down up here for Libby, Eureka, Columbia Falls, Kalispell as we get into the early afternoon of Friday. This moisture will still be falling into the I-90 corridor, Missoula, Butte, Bozeman, really in this focused zone into the early afternoon. Missoula, we start to quiet down and say as early as about 3 o'clock. Still some lingering showers. And then we transition to southwest Montana, Butte, Bozeman, Dillon. We see that moisture by 6 o'clock. Butte, we may be starting to quiet down. And then by, say, 10 o'clock, other than some lingering showers, the majority of the storm system is off to the east and moving into central and eastern Montana and then out of our area, with clearing skies on the back side of this. That's going to lead to those much colder temperatures with that Arctic air settling in. One note, though, as we get into Saturday, could see a quick little band of moisture move into northwest and west central Montana. That may help to bring another, at least quick dusting of snowfall to the region as a stronger or another system moves further off to the south and southwest. As for snowfall totals, here's what we're looking at. Here's what the latest forecast models are indicating, and I'm going to push this out through Saturday morning. And you can see a zone where the heaviest snowfall takes place. Kalispell, Seeley Lake, Helena, Bozeman. That's going to be roughly where that cold front sets up between, say, 7 p.m. tonight and 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, and that's going to be that overrunning area. If that front is a little faster, then maybe this moves down a little bit further south into places like, say, Polson, down to Butte, and then over into this area. That's just one of those question marks that we just don't know the answer on. We're just going to have to watch and see how this all plays out, though. That's why I'm saying probably still looking at 1 to 4 inches of snow for areas along and north of Interstate 90 for our valleys. But with that, there will be a few locations that probably pick up some heavier totals that may be closer into that 3 to 6 inch range, like we're seeing here for Kalispell, Seeley Lake, Bozeman. Maybe just a tad overdone, but that's just, that's going to come to some very localized types of setups. Missoula down to Hamilton, we're probably talking a dusting upwards to about 3 inches on the high side, and then even lesser totals as you get into southwest Montana, just based on the track of this moisture moving across the area. It's essentially starts pulling out of the area faster in southwest Montana as compared to these areas further off to the north. So that's the valley snowfall. Let's move into the mountain. Oops, hit the wrong button there. Let's head into the mountain snowfall, which is going to follow the same trend. This is looking into Saturday morning once again. You see our passes along the Montana-Idaho state line. We're probably talking about 1 to 5 inches. So look out, Lolo, Lost Trail, Monida Pass, even less than that. The focus is going to be for our passes along the divide and to the east. So 3 to as much as 8 inches, Bozeman, Homestake, McDonald, Rogers. Marias Pass, I think, is going to be the one with the biggest issues from this storm system, where we could be talking anywhere from 6 to 12 inches, maybe even some isolated potential of 12 to 16 inches from this storm system. So this is why I would say if you can avoid travel once we get beyond tonight, it's probably the best idea. So avoid travel tonight and into Friday as much as you can. I know with Black Friday there's a lot of shopping going on, but that is something to be aware of. And if you're going to be out, give yourself a little extra time to get to your destination, take it slow, and be really smart on the roads. But I would still say probably if you have past travel, specifically past travel, if you can avoid that until we get into Saturday, probably the best option. There still will be some slick roads. There still will be ice on the roads just because of the cold temperatures, but at least you aren't going to be dealing with the blowing snow and reduced visibility, which with that combination of heavy snow and the winds, we could see that down to a half mile or less on the roads, and that's just kind of a recipe for disaster, and we don't want that, especially now that we're into the holidays. So just be aware, we are going to see those more significant travel impacts as we get into the passes along the divide into northwest Montana, and maybe some issues, or I say maybe, probably dealing with at least some minor to moderate impacts to travel in our valleys along and north of Interstate 90. Now, looking ahead to this weekend, like I said, there's still going to be the chance for some spotty showers, especially along and west of the divide for Saturday evening. But the temperatures are going to be the big story. We see those highs mostly in the 20s for Saturday and Sunday across the region, with those low temperatures falling down into the single digits and teens. So it's going to be a smart idea to bundle up this weekend. This is the coldest air we've seen so far this season. Likely, I can almost guarantee you this won't be the coldest air we see all year. But at least for now, it's the coldest air we've seen so far into the fall, and as we start to move our way towards winter. But with those colder temperatures, the roads are not going to see maybe a bunch of improvement when it comes to those road conditions. So ice, some snowpack, that is still going to be sticking around all the way through the weekend. It isn't until we get into next week that those temperatures start to climb, but then we're going to be dealing with more storm systems and that potential for a few more rounds of snowfall into the region. So it's kind of a little bit of a catch-22, but in general, we will see some improving conditions, at least when it comes to the snow. As we get into this weekend, we're just going to be dealing with a lot of cold air. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. I've been on for about 20 minutes, so if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask those really quick. I'll just kind of start recapping the highlights of what we're really tracking, and then we'll finish this off, and then I'll let you enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving day. But let me, again, if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to ask those in the chat section. So here's those three big things. Travel impacts are looking more and more likely, starting this afternoon and evening, especially into northwest Montana. And then as we get into Friday, we're going to see that spread further and further south as that cold front sags further and further south. Gusty winds, 20 to 40 miles per hour will be possible. And then on top of that, we're going to see snow, rain, and that moisture on the road. Once that cold front passes, due to the rapid rate of cooling, we may see flash freeze conditions on our roads, and that will lead to some very treacherous travel. And then on top of that, with the snow still accumulating, you can have snow on top of ice, and that's just going to be a mess when it comes to the roads. Valley snow primarily will be for tonight and into Friday, and then the Arctic air settles in on the backside for this weekend with those overnight lows in the single digits, low teens, highs in the 20s for most locations. As for the snow, again, we have those winter weather advisories. They're in the purple shade for the Kootenai Cabinet region, lower Clark Fork region, Missoula, Bitterroot Valleys, and the Bitterroot and Sapphire Mountains, as well as into the Clearwater Mountains. And then we also have for the Elkhorn and Boulder Mountains, and then into the Gallatin Valley and the Big Belt, Bridger, and Castle Mountains over in this zone. For these areas, we're probably talking about 1 to 5 inches of snowfall, or even into parts of, say, the southern Bitterroot, we may only see a dusting. So from Hamilton south, a dusting upwards to about 2 inches. As for the winter storm watches that do include Kalispell, Polson, West Glacier, down towards the Potomac and Seeley Lake communities, Anaconda, Butte, Deer Lodge, Avon, Elliston, we could see some slightly higher totals, maybe in that 1 to 6 inch range. There's still a lot of question marks. That's why it's still a winter storm watch, even though these will be going into effect later on today. Just the timing of the front, the timing of the moisture, that's still leading into those question marks. So don't be surprised that in a few locations those get upgraded to winter storm warnings later on today. Again, the best way to stay informed of that, download the NBC Montana weather app. If that upgrade does occur, you'll be notified and it'll have all the information about what the specifics of that advisory are, or the specifics of that warning, or if it gets adjusted to a winter weather advisory, it'll have all that information as well. So in general, valleys, 1 to 5 inches of snow along and north of Interstate 90, and then for our mountain passes along the divide, we're talking anywhere from about 4 to 12 inches on average. Passes on the state line, more in that 1 to 4 inch range, maybe 1 to 5 inch range. And then for our valleys down into far southwestern Montana, we're talking Dillon, Ennis, even down towards West Yellowstone. We may not see a whole lot of snow out of this, or at least accumulating snow, where we may be more in that dusting to 2 inches on the high side. But we'll just have to watch and see how this all plays out. So I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm going to go and get a little bit of rest before I have some plans later on today. But stay safe. Have a great time with your friends and family this evening. And again, I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. And I will see you all on the next one. If you have any photos or videos of this storm system as it rolls through the area, the snow, even, somehow you're celebrating Thanksgiving, feel free to share those photos and videos with us at nbcmontana.com/chime-in. And then tune in to our live broadcasts later on today for the latest news and weather updates. And then I will be back for the morning show tomorrow, so tune in to NBC Montana Today with me and Jason Hurst at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I will see you all on the next one. Have a great day and a happy Thanksgiving. With NBC Montana, I'm meteorologist Mitchell Coombs.